All right, today we're diving deep into one of the world's biggest coal producers, PT BUMI Resources. And here's the kicker. We're only going to use their own words, piecing together a picture of this massive company straight from its own annual reports. So you gotta wonder, right? How does a company that literally moves mountains of earth and deals in billions of dollars actually work? We're gonna go beyond the headlines to see what the company itself has to say. Let's find out. Okay, so here is how we're going to tackle this beast. We'll start with the nuts and bolts, the mining machine. Then we'll get into the money, which is a real financial roller coaster. After that, we'll look at their impact beyond the mine. And finally, we'll open up the corporate playbook to see how it's all run. All right, first up, the mining machine. Let's dig into the sheer scale of the operation and see how the physical backbone of this company was built. So BUMI, as we know it today, wasn't just born. It was built. It was forged through these massive strategic acquisitions. The real game changers were when they brought PT Arutmin and PT Kaltim Prima Coal, or KPC, into the fold. This move basically consolidated a huge chunk of Indonesia's entire coal output under one roof. Just incredible. And these weren't just any mines they bought. They were logistical powerhouses. I mean, these are hyper-efficient operations. Look at KPC. It has a 13-kilometer-long overland conveyor belt. Think about that. That single piece of engineering just slashes their transportation costs and gives them this huge leg up on the competition. So what does all that efficiency get you? Well, look at these numbers. This machine is consistently pumping out over 80 million metric tons of coal every single year. That kind of volume puts them right at the top of the list of the world's biggest thermal coal exporters. It's just a staggering amount. Okay, so we've seen the muscle. Now let's follow the money. This is the company's circulatory system. And let me tell you, their own reports paint a picture of some wild highs and lows. It really is a roller coaster. And this right here is a perfect example of that volatility. Take a look at 2015. They brought in over $1 billion in revenue. That's a massive number, right? But in that same exact year, they posted a net loss of almost $2 billion. The company points to falling global coal prices, which just goes to show you, even a giant like this can be at the mercy of markets way outside of its control. Now, to run a show this big, you need a ton of cash. And back in 2015, the company was juggling this incredibly complex web of debt. We're not talking small loans here. We're talking billions of dollars from huge international players like the China Development Bank and Credit Suisse. It's a high-stakes game. And it's not just straightforward loans. They're also using some really sophisticated financial tools, like derivatives. So what are those? In simple terms, they're basically financial contracts that are betting on the future price of something, like currencies or coal itself. They can be a great way to manage risk, but man, they can also add a whole new layer of complexity and potential danger if things go sideways. And this isn't just some abstract concept. Check this out. At one point, these financial instruments represented almost $65 million in liabilities on their books. It's a really clear picture of the kind of high-level financial engineering it takes to keep an operation of this magnitude afloat. All right, so we've talked about the physical operations and the money. But what about everything that happens outside the balance sheet? A company this huge leaves a massive footprint, right? So let's see what their own reports say about their impact on the environment and the local communities.
The company's reports don't shy away from this. They actually tackle it head on. They lay out this really extensive strategy for managing their environmental and social responsibilities, and they frame it as a core part of their business.
And here is a figure from their 2010 report that really puts it into perspective. In just 1 year, one of their subsidiaries, Arutmin, reclaimed over 726 hectares of land. Now get this, their original goal was 451. So they blew past their target by a huge margin. It shows a serious commitment of resources to land reclamation.
And their social programs, what they call CSR, are just as broad. I mean, it's not just one thing, it's a whole range of initiatives. You've got these really innovative projects like cattle farming on old mining land, all the way to providing basic essential stuff like clean water, housing for employees, and building things like mosques for local villages. Okay, final section. We've seen the body, we've seen the circulatory system. Now let's look at the central nervous system. How is this entire giant managed, and what's their game plan for the future? So BUMI runs on what's called a two-tiered board. It's pretty straightforward, really.
You can think of the board of commissioners as the overseers. They're looking at the big picture, making sure things are on track. Then you have the board of directors. They're the ones in the driver's seat, managing the day-to-day and actually making the strategy happen.
In an industry as unpredictable as this one, you just can't afford to be reactive. The company talks about using this formal 5-step process for managing risk. It's their playbook for spotting potential threats, whether it's a sudden crash in coal prices or a safety hazard at a mine, and dealing with them before they become a full-blown crisis.
So where do they say this is all going? Well, this quote is pulled right from one of their reports. It's the leadership stated vision, and it boils down to two big ideas: achieving sustainability in the long run and staying competitive in a really tough global market. And that vision is built on these four core principles. And when you look at them, you can see it's a real balancing act. On one hand, you've got the absolute necessity of making money for your shareholders. But on the other, you have these stated commitments to your employees, the local communities, and the environment. Trying to nail that balance, that's the heart of their strategy. So, when you piece it all together from their own reports, you see this incredibly complex machine, a machine of production, finance, and strategy. But it leaves us with one huge hanging question. In a world that is fundamentally changing its relationship with fossil fuels, how does a coal giant, built on this incredible scale, adapt for the future? Answering that is going to be their biggest challenge yet.